Alright, in this video we are going to find the volume of a cylinder. Okay? And so the first thing you need to know is what is the volume formula for a cylinder. The volume formula is big B times H. I've drawn a little cylinder here with the dimensions, but let's talk about what big B is. Big B represents, and I'll use a different color so you can see the difference in the two. Big B represents the area of the base of the shape. Alright, so if you look, the base of this shape is a circle. Alright, so I'll draw a little circle here. We're looking for the area of that is area equals pi r squared. Alright, and a lot of times they'll give you area as you could use 3, you can use 3.1, you could use 3.14. I've seen them use 22/7. There's many things that they can use. We're just going to use 3.14 for generic. Alright, so I know the big B represents the area of the base. And like I said, my base is the circle. So I'm going to highlight, this is what the area I'm talking about right here. And there's actually two of them. There's one on top and bottom, but we only need to use one of them. Alright, so R stands for the radius. Now, for a couple things we kind of make sure we understand is the diameter is the distance from outside the circle through the center of the circle to the opposite side. That is called a diameter. All right. The radius is half of that. So the radius starts from the center or from the outer edge and goes to the center. Now understand these lines can be drawn in any direction. It's just like cutting a pizza. You can go in any direction. So if I was cutting, I could cut my radius this way, and I can make my diameter all the way across if I wanted to. So in our case, we're looking for the radius, which is half of the circle. So we're only interested in half of this. Alright, so I'm going to go back and replace my big B with the area formula of a circle. So I want pi r squared. And we're going to really just say the volume equals, that's the big B, and then multiply the height as well. So now we just fill everything in. We just got to make sure we know what we're using here. Alright, so in the pi, we said we're going to use 3.14. Now my radius is half the distance of that. If you notice this has a line going across the part with an arrow with an 8 feet on it. They're telling you that the diameter all the way across is 8 feet. But remember, we only want half of this. We only want half of that. So half of 8 is 4. So we're going to put a 4 here for the radius. Alright? And then we're going to square it. Now the height, we need to make sure you understand what the height is. The height is the actual distance, okay? It's the actual distance from the bases. So it's the distance between the two bases. So if I'm looking at height, I'm looking for this distance right here between the two bases. Alright, so kind of like be careful, because sometimes when these shapes are laying down like this, people will think the height is straight up and down, but the height is between the two bases, which is right here. Alright, so in this case our height is 15. Now we're going to finish this up. I'm going to kind of clean up my space a little bit so we have a little bit. Remember, big B is the area of the base. Alright, so we're going to just, and really you can just either put this in a graphing calculator or calculator that you use. 4 square means 4 times 4. See how I wrote that? And then it's 15. Now, we can put this in a graphing calculator, like I said, and so when I do this, I'm going to put 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 15, and I'm going to get 753.6. Now, we're talking about volume, all right? And volume is measured in cubic units. So we have, our unit is feet, so we're going to say cubic feet. Now a lot of people want to know, why is that so? Well, if you look back at pi r squared times h, pi is not going to change, but r is squared, and that is 4 feet times 4 feet. Which gives you feet squared. And then the height is in feet as well. So actually you have 3 feet multiplied together, and so that's where we get the cube from. I wanted to explain that. Now, one more thing, just to kind of give you an FYI, in case this happens. If you ever read in terms of pi, this is very important. If it says in terms of pi, okay, they're wanting you to not calculate pi. They just want you to use the symbol. So you would say, you would just leave pi alone, and then you would say 16 times 15, that's 4 squared. Alright, and then you would multiply 16 times 15, alright, and you would get 240, and we'd say 240 pi would be my answer in terms of pi. The one that I'm circling or boxing now, the 753, that is with pi rounded off to 3.14. The other one is in terms of pi, where it says 240 pi. Now, one more thing, just to give you an FYI. They could give you the volume, and you would have to calculate the pi. So what I'd like to do real quick is, I might do this real quick, is I may reverse it. We may say the volume is 240 pi. We'll just leave it in terms of pi. And we know the height is 15. And they want us to find the radius. They may ask you to find the diameter. So here we go. Volume equals big B times H, which we know the area of the base is pi r. I can't put pi and r in here. Oh my gosh, my eraser's not working here. Pi r squared, and then we're going to multiply the height. We know that's the actual cylinder thing. So otherwise, I'm going to just draw this real quick, just a little sketch here. Okay, we know that this is 15. I'm going to change the colors. We do not know the radius of this. So this right here, we do not know. Alright, but we do know the volume inside is 240 pi. Alright, so here we go. We're going to just plug everything in. This is how you would do it if you were just given these parameters. It's the same formula, it's just we just plug in different things. So we'll say 240 pi. Alright, we have pi right here. We're not going to change it to anything. My r we don't know, so we're going to leave r squared. And our height is 15. Alright, we want r by itself, so otherwise we want to try to get r squared by itself. So I have to look at what's being done to r squared. This is what we want. We want it to look like this. So what's being done to r? It's being multiplied by pi and 15. So the opposite of multiply by pi and 15 is divide pi and 15. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi and 15. When I do, pi divided by pi goes 1, 15 divided by 15 is 0. Now don't forget, I'm doing the same thing over here. Now if you look, I have my pi's actually cancel out on the other side as well. So this is what we end up having. And I know we have 240 divided by 15 equals r squared. Notice that's r squared. So take your calculator or paper and pencil and divide the two, and you're going to find out that it's 16. Find out that that's 16. Alright, but it's r squared. And remember, r squared, we'll put it right here, r squared equals 16. The opposite of r squared, or you could sit there and say r squared really means r times r. So what number times itself will give you 16? And you should figure out it's 4. Now there is another way you could do it if you're not too familiar with this. You could take the square root, which is the opposite of square, to both sides. And when you do, you're going to get r equals 4. Now remember, r is 4. All right? All right. Our diameter would mean that this whole thing would be 8. And if you remember from our last one, if we're going to go back, 4 plus 4 equals 8. The diameter is 8, but the radius is 4. If we go back to the other page, you should say that, see, the diameter was 8, and we used 4 as our answer.